Skifilm presents freshwater ecologist Dr. Petr Paril in the documentary Down by the Drying Stream. Floods have occurred with increasing frequency in recent years, and we thought that water would be rising far above our knees. But drought, which can have even greater ecological impacts, clearly implies that in future water may become scarce. Climatic models predict that we will experience large floods several times during this century. However, summer droughts will probably occur even more often. We want to show you what happens to aquatic life when a stream dries and explore specific causes of these events, which do not only result from a lack of rainfall. Life in fresh water is really fascinating. No attentive observer can ignore the host of amazing creatures above and below the water surface in this stream. An excellent description of this aquatic life was provided by the Czech writer Ondřej Sakura in his famous book, Ferda the Ant. I've been studying aquatic life for almost 3 decades, and I can tell a lot of stories, and we can learn much from these. Most of you know some animals that live in streams, for instance fish, crayfish and mussels, but you might not have heard of benthos. Benthos is a term for all the small invertebrates living in and on the sediments of the stream bed. You can see them crowding this tray. These are aquatic insect larvae, crustaceans and various types of worm. All these small animals serve, for instance, as fish food, but also help in the self-cleaning process of water. In addition, we ecologists use them as bioindicators or biomonitors, which tell us about the quality of water and the aquatic environment in general. Intermittent streams which sometimes dry out have received little attention from ecologists compared to rivers with year-round flow. However, as the number of streams falling dry from time to time increases in our country, we need to study them more closely. In fact, we know almost nothing about the aquatic life in these streams. From the very beginning, their study has brought many surprising findings. For example, the fact that at the beginning of a dry period, the stream loses all surface water for several hours each afternoon. These short dry periods are ended by brief re-wetting of the riverbeds at night. Our scientific adventure has also a practical application. We have developed a method based on the sampling of aquatic macroinvertebrates that allows us to assess if the stream has dried out in the last year. Our method is based on the fact that some sensitive species eliminated by drying remain absent for a long time afterwards, while others can survive such events and recolonize the stream once water returns. We are now at a stretch of the stream that has dried very recently. Only a single pool of water is left where a stream used to flow. All those tiny invertebrates concentrating on the bottom of this pool are in a precarious situation. They are running out of oxygen and food, their habitat is shrinking, they are on their own and finding a way to survive this difficult period. Intermittent streams that dry frequently host only those organisms that either survive these harsh conditions on site or return quickly to a newly flowing stream. Leeches are content in moist places in the surface sediments, and some caddisfly larvae can survive several days without water thanks to humidity inside their cases. After the riverbed dries, we can find hundreds of empty caddisfly cases at the points where residual pools were the last places to lose water. Some caddisflies managed to emerge as adults before the stream dried, but most were not able to complete their development and so died as the larvae at the bottom of those pools. The larvae of some midges build tubes from fine sand grains using secretions from their salivary glands. In these tubes they can survive the dry periods for longer. When the stream bed dries, the remaining tangles of their tubes look a bit like marine corals. The predatory larvae of the alderfly burrow into wet mud during drying of the stream bed, a skill originally developed for the purpose of pupation. If we look more closely at the dry sediments, we can see numerous holes in the mud confirming their presence. Crayfish seek any pools that remain in a dry channel and may survive if water remains cold enough and if oxygen levels are high enough. Having gills, they have to find water relatively quickly. Otherwise, they will die much sooner than their 15 or 20-year life expectancy might otherwise allow. Salamander larvae are often found in intermittent streams. Although requiring clean-flowing water, most manage to complete their metamorphosis into terrestrial stage and leave the water in search of land habitat before the stream dries completely. Metamorphosed salamanders can also survive dry conditions on land, sheltering in moist places under rocks, in deadwood or in tree stumps, and venturing out only when it rains heavily. Clams are rather limited in their ability to move between sites and so withdraw to deeper pools, especially when the channel falls dry very quickly. If they do not manage to remain submerged in the shrinking pools, they may suffocate in dry sediment. They eventually disappear completely from streams that dry frequently. Tadpoles of toads die when pools dry out if their metamorphosis into land-living juvenile toads is not completed soon enough. They perish in their thousands, either due to food shortages or eventually desiccation. The lack of food can even lead to cannibalism. Only a fraction manages to transform into young toads quickly enough. In the remaining shallow pools, aquatic animals become an easier target for all possible predators. For example, freshwater shrimps survive in dry stream bed sediments for just a few hours. If they attempt to crawl to a nearby pool, they usually fall prey to ants on their way. Ants scour newly dry riverbeds until they have completely cleared them of all available food, living or dead. They are joined by other terrestrial predators such as ground beetles and toads. Only a few pools remain in this dry stream. These pools are full of fish, and it's up to chance whether these pools become their cemetery or a place of rebirth brought about by rainfall. At the pool's surface, we can see how fish open their mouths, which shows that they are reaching out for atmospheric oxygen. Their only chance of survival is a heavy downpour, which could re-establish the continuous flow of water. These footprints on the muddy bottom represent another major risk for the fish in residual pools. Grey herons and black storks find a rich feast not only for themselves but also for their offspring within these isolated pools. In addition to nature itself, human activity can also reduce the chances that aquatic animals will survive. This is pretty filthy. During dry seasons, many man-made problems get even worse. One such problem is this influx of wastewater from some holiday cottages situated upstream. As microorganisms consume the organic matter within the wastewater, oxygen levels in the remaining water can decrease tenfold. Many fish that could otherwise survive dry periods in these pools will instead suffocate. Management of cropland is the key to water retention in a landscape and in these streams. Careful management can both slow down runoff and improve infiltration. Arable land management in particular, and catchment land use in general, can either mitigate or exacerbate the impacts of climate change as well. If we manage the landscape well, it acts as a sponge that absorbs water during times of excess, gradually releasing it at times of water shortage. Cropland could play the most important role in improving the capacity of a landscape to retain water. Its condition over the last few decades has deteriorated so much that it no longer fulfills this function. Soil compaction, low organic matter content, inappropriate crop selection, and sometimes even ploughing straight down the slope, these factors interact and cause stormwater to run off without infiltrating the soil. This leads to a lack of water during droughts. Crops need not create an extensive root system because farmers supply them with nutrients. Consequently, the soil lacks tiny pores which otherwise allow moist rainwater to infiltrate even during heavy downpours. The ability of the soil to retain water until the dry season is much reduced. Water retention in cities is even lower than in agricultural landscapes. Concrete and asphalt surfaces quickly direct water into storm drains and sewers. However, even in between buildings there are possible solutions such as infiltration strips of vegetation, green roofs, natural garden ponds, and small water retention basins. All of these can intercept rainwater and runoff from roofs that would otherwise disappear straight into the sewers. An example is this small pond in the Nové Liskovec neighbourhood of the city of Brno. All these elements not only retain intercepted water and reduce the impact of heavy rainfall, but also cool their surroundings by gradual evaporation, making hot days more bearable. Landscapes have been modified in many ways during the past decades. Many of these modifications have been beneficial, others, often led by good intentions, damage the ability of the land to retain water. Those managing the land are often the first to realise the need to improve current practices. In collaboration with landscape designers and scientists, land managers are taking action to restore the landscape to a desired state. Let's look at one example, the restoration of the Borovsky stream floodplain near the town of Moravské Třebové. To ensure their interconnection with the stream bed, it is vital that the banks consist of natural material and that there is no concrete embankments. This corridor was created to ensure that water will flow through this new channel. River channelization, including the reinforcement of banks with concrete or other impermeable materials, all this can be changed. Every stretch of a stream that is restored to its natural state is valuable. A restored stream compensates for fluctuations in water flow and provides a wide range of habitats for wildlife. Using these two models of rivers as examples, we can demonstrate the current major threats posed by droughts. Heavy rainfall events are becoming more common, which increases the frequency of large spates in river ecosystems. Floodwaters move rapidly through the straightened, regulated channel, reducing water retention. When climatologists began to warn years ago that the occurrence of both floods and droughts would increase, many people were skeptical. Floods and droughts mutually exclude each other, don't they? However, in recent years, we have repeatedly witnessed drought and flood in the very same year. A natural stream with numerous meanders and a temporarily inundated floodplain is beneficial in both cases. During floods, natural streams slow down in their flow, and this ensures safe inundation of the floodplain. In the dry season, a natural stream increases water retention in the landscape. If the restoration is effective, a natural alternation of riffles and pool habitats can establish, with the deeper pools holding enough water for the survival of aquatic organisms even during drought periods. Effective restoration projects come to fruition when experts collaborate to implement ecologically sensitive designs. There is still much to be learned about effective designs that restore river channels to as natural a state as possible, and nature itself is our best teacher. Maybe you are surprised that although I am standing on the bed of quite a small stream, that the water is so deep. This is the case because the stream has not been regulated and has been able to carve a deep pool into the soft sediments. This deep pool has an important role during dry spells when it allows the survival of fish and many other organisms. We are at the end of the summer and the long-awaited rain has finally come. After almost 3 months with little rainfall, the dry river channels are once again flowing. Very few of their inhabitants were able to survive. The others will try to return in the coming months. Maybe they will succeed, but maybe some species will disappear from the stream. The climate is definitely changing and we will have to cope with floods and droughts. But there is still time to retain water in the landscape. These beautiful streams and rivers, which are the capillaries and arteries of the landscape, do not have to become dry riverbeds that would be devoid of all but the hardest aquatic organisms. Translation and language correction of the English commentary by Jiří Schlagermarsky and Rachel Stubbington. Acknowledgement of financial support. European Union Cost Action CA 15113 Science and Management of Intermittent Rivers and Ephemeral Streams. Additional thanks goes to Music, Sound Director, Editing Director, Director of Photography, Concept Screenplay and Documentary Guide, Directed by, Made by Ski Film 2015.